The courtroom was quiet until a loud voice broke the silence. A young man walked in wearing designer sunglasses, holding his phone high like a trophy. "This is going to be hilarious. Watch me cook this old judge," he said to the thousands watching his live stream. His name was Tyler Blake, a 20-year-old influencer with millions of followers and a belief that fame puts him above everyone else. "Comment where you're watching from," Tyler laughed as if he had entered a comedy show, not a place where real consequences are decided. The police had caught him speeding through downtown, driving 45 miles per hour over the limit while recording a prank video. People jumped out of his way, families were terrified, but Tyler didn't care. In his mind, danger was just another way to gain views. Judge Frank Caprio looked at him with calm eyes. He had seen thousands of cases, but this young man's attitude was something else. Tyler pointed his phone at the judge and said loudly, "This is the easiest content ever. Look at him, the legend himself." He didn't mean it as respect, he meant it as a joke. Some people in the courtroom stared in disbelief. Others shook their heads. A mother in the back hugged her child closer. She knew how close Tyler came to hurting someone just like her little one. Judge Caprio asked him gently, "Young man, please put your phone away. This is a courtroom, not a stage." Tyler rolled his eyes. "Relax, my fans love this. They want to see justice get an upgrade." He winked at the camera, ignoring the seriousness completely. Comments poured in on his phone screen. Some viewers laughed and encouraged him to be even more disrespectful. The encouragement only made him worse. "You know," Tyler continued loudly, "I bring attention to this boring city. You should thank me for the clout." The judge sighed softly, disappointment flickering in his expression. He had dedicated his life to protecting this community. Now a kid who barely knew anything about life was mocking the very thing holding society together. "Put the phone away," Judge Caprio repeated, his voice firmer this time. Tyler refused. "What are you going to do, fine me? I make more in a day than this place makes in a year." He laughed again, unaware of the dark hole he was digging for himself. A court officer stepped forward and warned Tyler that filming was not allowed. Tyler quickly pulled his phone back and shouted, "Don't touch me, this is my brand, you just want to go viral too." He thought everything around him existed for his amusement. Rules, respect, and responsibility meant nothing. Then he crossed a line that made everyone gasp. "You old folks really need to retire," he said, staring directly at Judge Caprio. "We, the young generation, run the world now." Silence, heavy, uncomfortable silence. The judge did not raise his voice. He didn't need to. His disappointment was a louder message than anger could ever be. "Young man," Judge Caprio said slowly, "speeding is not a joke. You could have killed someone, do you understand that?" Tyler shrugged as if he had been asked the most boring question in the world. "Nobody died though, so what's the problem?" The mother in the audience couldn't hold back her frustration anymore. "My son was on that sidewalk," she cried. "He was terrified, you think that's funny?" Tyler didn't apologize, he didn't even look sorry. He gave a sarcastic smirk and muttered, "Relax, lady, kids need excitement." The courtroom turned ice cold. Even Tyler's own manager sitting beside him looked horrified. She whispered to him to stop talking, but Tyler brushed her off. He believed his fame was armor. He thought millions of followers made him untouchable. Judge Caprio leaned forward. His calm voice now carried a heavier weight. "Tyler, your choices could have destroyed lives. A moment of recklessness can change families forever. This courtroom exists to prevent tragedy, not to entertain your audience." Tyler opened his mouth again, ready with another joke, but the judge didn't allow him to continue. "There will be order here," he said firmly, "and you will show respect." For the first time since entering the room, Tyler's smile faded slightly. He looked around and noticed every pair of eyes staring at him, not as a celebrity, but as a danger to their community. He cleared his throat and tried to laugh it off again, but his voice cracked. The show wasn't going quite the way he imagined. Judge Caprio spoke softly once more. "I am giving you a final warning. Put the phone away and behave properly. This is your last chance to show even a little maturity." Tyler hesitated, then slowly lowered his phone. His livestream viewers began spamming comments, "Don't give in. Stand up to him. We want drama." The influencer looked torn for a second, his ego fighting with reality. But he knew the judge wasn't joking. Still, entitlement doesn't disappear in one moment. Tyler whispered under his breath, just loud enough for people around him to hear, "This court has no idea who they're dealing with." He believed his fame could protect him, but everyone else in the room could already sense the truth. Fame might have brought him here. But respect, the thing he lacked most, was the only thing that could save him now. and Judge Caprio was not a man who allowed disrespect to win. This was only the beginning of Tyler Blake's lesson, a lesson he would never forget. Judge Frank Caprio looked straight at Tyler and asked him why he was driving so dangerously. It was a simple question, but instead of showing any concern, Tyler smiled like he was being interviewed for a celebrity show. He tapped on his phone and proudly held it up. "It was a challenge," he said. "Everyone online is doing it. Drive fast, film reactions, get views. That's how the internet works." He played one of his videos right there. The sound of his laughter filled the courtroom as the screen showed him racing through crowded streets. People jumped back in fear as he sped past them. One clip showed a stroller being pulled out of the road just seconds before his car flew by. The courtroom gasped. Tyler didn't even notice. He was too busy bragging. "I got 2 million views from that alone," he declared. "I'm helping the city. More people know about this place now because of me." Judge Caprio's face showed deep concern. This wasn't just carelessness, it was pride in almost causing tragedy. The judge explained calmly that one wrong move could have taken a life. A child could have been killed, a family shattered forever, but Tyler shrugged as if none of that mattered. No one got hurt, and besides, tourism is good for business. Brands love this stuff. He adjusted his expensive jacket like he was posing for a photo shoot. "I have sponsorships who want me to do bigger challenges, that's the future." His manager sat beside him, shoulders tight, whispering for him to stop talking, but Tyler waved her away. "No, let them hear the truth," he said loudly. "This court should thank me. I'm making the state famous." People in the audience exchanged angry looks. They couldn't believe the level of arrogance coming from the young man standing in front of them. He didn't see fear, only fans and money. Judge Caprio leaned forward and asked a different question. "Where are your parents today?" he said softly. Tyler rolled his eyes. "My dad is busy, big business meeting, but he already called everyone here to make sure this gets sorted out quickly. He always does." He smirked with confidence. "I'll be out of here in no time." "You know how it works." That one sentence hit the room like a storm. People realized this wasn't his first time causing trouble. This was a pattern, mistakes followed by excuses covered by money. Tyler believed nothing could touch him. A woman in the audience suddenly stood up. Her hands were shaking. "My daughter was on that sidewalk," she said, her voice breaking. "She is scared to walk anywhere now because of you. Do you think that's funny? Do you think my child's fear is a joke?" Tyler looked at her and smirked again. "Wow, dramatic much. Kids get scared all the time. She'll be fine. Maybe she should follow me. She'd learn to chill." The mother gasped. A wave of anger spread through the room. Even the court officers looked furious. The judge watched carefully, seeing every pained reaction. Judge Caprio took a slow breath. "Young man, this woman's child could have died." Tyler's answer came without a single thought for anyone but himself. "Well, she didn't, so what's the big deal?" He laughed again, a cold, careless laugh that made the whole courtroom feel smaller. The judge stared at him, and for a moment the entire room went silent. Tyler finally noticed the disappointment on Judge Caprio's face. Disappointment deeper than anger, disappointment in how a young life with so much opportunity could drift so far from responsibility. "You talk like life is a game," the judge said, "but the people you nearly hit have real families, real fears, real futures." Tyler crossed his arms. His ego still stood taller than any truth spoken to him. The judge then asked one final thing. "When you look at these videos you're so proud of, do you see any human being whose life matters? Or do you only see numbers on a screen?" For a moment, just a moment, Tyler's eyes flickered with uncertainty. But his pride snapped right back into place. He refused to admit any guilt. The courtroom was heartbroken. It was becoming painfully clear that this young influencer didn't understand respect. He didn't understand danger. He didn't understand the difference between fame and responsibility. And Judge Caprio knew, before any justice could be served, this boy needed to learn something priceless. 1 million followers cannot protect you from the truth. Tyler Blake had treated a deadly situation like entertainment, but the consequences were about to become very real. Tyler grabbed his phone again, trying to lift it up, but Judge Frank Caprio wasn't letting this show continue. With a calm but firm voice, he said, "Young man, hand me the phone." Tyler looked shocked, like someone had taken away his crown. "Are you serious? That's my brand." His voice jumped an octave, anger boiling out. "You're attacking my career. Do you have any idea how many viewers I'm losing right now?" But his complaints only made the judge's decision stronger. A court officer stepped forward and carefully took the phone from Tyler's hand. Some people in the room quietly cheered. Without the camera, Tyler suddenly seemed much smaller. He wasn't performing for millions anymore, he was just a scared kid in trouble. Judge Caprio explained gently, "This court protects lives, it doesn't protect egos." He wasn't yelling, he never needed to. His calm tone carried more authority than any shout could. Tyler scoffed and crossed his arms, trying to rebuild his confidence. "My fans won't stand for this," he muttered, even though nobody cared about fans now. The courtroom was focused on truth, not likes or comments. The judge called the first witness, the same mother Tyler had mocked earlier. Her voice was full of emotion as she told the court how her daughter froze in fear when Tyler's car came flying toward them. "She's only 7, the mother said. "Now she wakes up crying at night, scared that a car will crash into our home." Tears filled her eyes and the entire room felt the weight of her words. Tyler's face twitched. For the first time, he didn't have a clever smile ready. Still, he tried to interrupt. "She's exaggerating," but Judge Caprio raised his hand and stopped him instantly. "You will listen," he said firmly. Tyler leaned back, silenced, but frustration was stamped across his face. Next, a traffic officer stepped up. He described how Tyler's speeding prank forced 2 pedestrians to leap out of the way. One stumble, one wrong turn, 1 second too late, and people would have died. The officer looked right at Tyler and said, "You weren't lucky, they were lucky." Tyler's mouth opened as if he wanted to argue again, but no words came out. His hands started fidgeting. His fame couldn't rewrite real events. It couldn't erase fear. It couldn't protect him from accountability. Then Judge Caprio asked a question that cut deeper than any punishment could. "If a child died that day because of your stunt, what would you say to their parents?" The room went silent. Tyler swallowed, his confidence cracked. He looked down at his expensive shoes, but the floor offered him no comfort. For a moment, he was just a young man face to face with the gravity of what he had done. "What would you say?" the judge repeated softly. Tyler's lips parted, but nothing came out. No sarcasm, no jokes, no camera to save him. His eyes darted around, searching for something to hold onto, but all he could see were angry eyes and disappointed faces. He tried to regain his arrogance. "No one died, though." His voice was quiet this time, not proud, almost nervous. The judge shook his head slowly. "That is not the point. You think life is a game, that fear and danger are entertainment. But every life in this community matters, whether they follow you or not." Tyler looked stunned. He wasn't used to being challenged. He wasn't used to being wrong. His entire world was built on attention. Now he had none. He looked over at where his phone had been his lifeline, but it was gone. Without his audience, he wasn't a star. He was responsible. Judge Caprio gave him one last chance to say something meaningful. "You could apologize right now. You could show these people that you understand. Do you want to do that?" Tyler hesitated. For a flash of a second, something human flickered in his eyes, guilt maybe, but the fear of looking weak won inside his mind. He clenched his jaw and looked away. "I have nothing to apologize for." A woman in the audience gasped. Someone else shook their head in disbelief. Tyler wasn't just refusing, he was choosing arrogance over humanity. The judge leaned back, disappointment settling over him. "Very well," he said. Tyler had been handed every chance to change, every chance to become better, even a little. Instead, he turned away from every one of them. If he thought the worst was behind him, he was about to learn how wrong he was. The most damaging evidence in this whole case didn't come from the police. It came from Tyler himself. Judge Frank Caprio held up a printed transcript from Tyler's own livestream, the one recorded just hours before court. He read slowly so every word could be heard. "I'm going to make this judge look stupid," the line said. "These old folks should retire and let influencers run things." The room reacted immediately. A low wave of shock moved through the benches. Some people shook their heads in disgust. Tyler's manager quietly buried her face in her hands, wishing she could disappear. Tyler, for the first time, didn't look so confident. His mouth tightened and his eyes darted toward the ground. Judge Caprio did not shout. He didn't need to. His calm voice carried more weight than anger ever could. "So this was your plan?" he asked. "You didn't come here to take responsibility, you came here to perform." Tyler tried to fake a smile. "It was just entertainment," he said. "People like drama. I was just talking big for the viewers." The judge looked at him carefully. "Millions of young people watch you," he said. "And what do you show them? That laws are a joke, that older people don't matter, that putting lives at risk is just content." Tyler opened his mouth, then closed it again. There was no clever reply now. Without his phone, without his live stream, he had nothing to hide behind. Judge Caprio turned to the courtroom. This young man is not just some random driver, he explained. He is a public figure. Children look up to people like him. They think if he can do it, so can I. His words fell heavy in the air. Parents in the room nodded. They knew their kids copied everything they saw online. Then the judge looked back at Tyler. With influence comes responsibility. You have great influence, Tyler, he said, but so far you have shown no responsibility at all. The silence that followed was thick. Tyler's manager whispered, "Say you're sorry, just say it." But his pride still sat in the driver's seat. "This is being blown out of proportion," he muttered. "I didn't kill anyone." Judge Caprio shook his head sadly. "You measure your actions by how lucky you were," he replied. "I measure them by how close you came to disaster." He reached for the case file. "Given the seriousness of your behavior," he began, "this court is imposing the following penalties." Tyler straightened up, trying to prepare himself, but nothing could really prepare him for what he was about to hear. "First," the judge said, "you are fined heavily for your speeding and reckless driving. Second, your driver's license is suspended for a long period. You will not be behind the wheel again anytime soon." Gasps came from the audience. That alone would have shaken most people, but Judge Caprio was not finished. "Third," he continued, "you will perform mandatory community service at a trauma rehabilitation center. This is not a publicity event. You will spend time with people who are living with the consequences of careless drivers. You will see with your own eyes what can happen when someone treats the road like a playground." Tyler's face drained of color. "You can't be serious," he blurted out. "A rehab center? I'm not a nurse, I'm an entertainer. My time is worth thousands of dollars an hour." The judge did not flinch. "Today," he said, "your time is worth something much more important than money. It is worth learning empathy." Tyler looked around the room for support, but no one was with him now, not the mother he mocked, not the officer he ignored. Not even his own manager. She stared straight ahead, ashamed. "This isn't fair," Tyler snapped. "You're making an example out of me because I'm famous." Judge Caprio answered quietly, "You are being held to the same standard as everyone else. The only difference is that your disrespect was seen by the whole world." The words hung in the air like a mirror held up to Tyler's face. Then came the line that would be replayed over and over again online, the line that would flip the story against Tyler completely. The judge looked right at him and said, "Fame does not place you above the law. Character does." The courtroom broke into applause. Some people even stood. In that moment, the power shifted. The man Tyler tried to humiliate became the man his own viewers would grow to respect. Tyler felt it. For the first time in his life, he wasn't trending for something cool or funny. He was trending for being a warning. The humiliation burned deeper than any insult he had thrown at the judge. He came to court to make someone else look small. Instead, the whole world was now watching him shrink. When Tyler walked back into the courtroom a few days later, he was not the same loud, shining figure the world first saw. The sunglasses were gone. The designer jacket was replaced by a simple hoodie. And for the first time, he walked in without a phone in his hand. During the break between hearings, the internet had done what it always does. It reacted. But this time, it didn't bend in his favor. Brands that once fought to be in his videos quietly sent emails cutting their deals. "Due to recent events, we are ending our partnership," they said. His follower count, which he checked every few minutes, started dropping by the thousands. The comment sections that used to be filled with fire emojis and cheers turned dark. "You're reckless. You could have killed someone. You embarrassed yourself." Tyler tried to clap back at first, calling everyone haters, but the more he fought, the worse it got. Reaction videos flooded the internet, all using the same clip, Judge Frank Caprio saying, "Fame does not place you above the law, character does." People weren't laughing at the judge. They were agreeing with him. Now, as Tyler sat at the defendant's table again, he kept his eyes down. The courtroom was quieter, more serious. His manager sat beside him, but even she seemed distant. She had warned him many times that his bad boy persona would turn on him one day. Now that day had come. Then the courtroom door opened and a man in a suit stepped in, his face tight with anger. It was Tyler's father. He didn't sit in the audience. He walked straight up to the front row, his eyes locked on his son. For a moment, Tyler actually shrank in his chair. The confident influencer who mocked an entire courtroom now looked like a teenager caught doing something unforgivable. When the case was called, Tyler stood. Judge Caprio asked how things had been going since the last hearing. Before Tyler could answer, his father spoke up. "I'll tell you how it's going," he said. "My son has turned my name into a joke." You could feel the tension shoot through the room. Tyler's cheeks turned red. "Dad not here," he whispered. His father ignored him. "I always bailaid him out," he told the judge. "I made calls, I fixed problems, I thought I was helping him, but all I did was teach him that there are no consequences." Those words hit harder than any headline. Tyler stared at his father like he was seeing him for the first time. The man who always rescued him was now exposing the truth in front of everyone. "I am ashamed," his father continued quietly. "Not of my son being in this courtroom. I'm ashamed that it took this long for him to finally face something real." The whole room was silent. Even the air felt heavier. Tyler swallowed hard. For once he didn't try to joke. "I messed up," he said softly. "I thought if people were watching me, I mattered. The more attention I got, the more I felt alive." His voice shook a little. "I didn't care who I hurt as long as I was trending." Judge Caprio watched him carefully. The ego was not gone, but it was cracked. Something real was starting to come through. "Attention can be addictive," the judge replied. "But addiction does not excuse damage, it only explains it." Tyler nodded, tears building in his eyes that he quickly wiped away. He still didn't fully understand, but for the first time he wasn't defending himself. He was listening. The judge reminded him, consequences alone do not build character. You can pay a fine, lose a license, do some hours of service, and still stay the same person. What changes you is taking responsibility. What changes you is empathy. The word lingered in the air, empathy. Tyler let out a slow breath. "I don't know if I'm that person yet," he admitted, "but I don't want to be who I was in that video." It wasn't a perfect apology, it wasn't a full transformation, but it was a start. Judge Caprio nodded. "You still have community service to complete," he said. "At that trauma center, you will look into the eyes of people whose lives were changed by drivers who thought they were invincible." Tyler lowered his head. "I'll go," he said quietly. "I'll do it." As he left the courtroom again, there were no cheers, no cameras, no fans waiting outside. Only a young man walking out with a shaken ego and the first small crack where change could finally begin. The first day at the Trauma Rehabilitation Center hit Tyler harder than any comment online ever could. He expected a boring volunteer shift, maybe moving boxes or wiping tables. Instead, a nurse handed him a simple instruction. "Today, you'll help patients with walking practice." Some of them were hit by speeding drivers. Those words landed like a stone in his chest. He walked into a quiet room where parallel bars stretched across the floor. A teenage boy gripped the rails with both hands, sweat on his forehead, legs shaking as he tried to take one careful step. A therapist stood beside him, speaking gently. Tyler watched, unsure where to stand. The therapist waved him over. "This is Jake," she said. A car going way over the limit hit him at an intersection. "We're teaching his legs how to move again." Jake looked at Tyler with tired eyes. "You one of the volunteers?" he asked. Tyler nodded. "Yeah, I'm here to help." He held the safety belt around Jake's waist as the boy tried to move. Every inch looked like a battle. Tyler could feel the strain in Jake's trembling body, the frustration when his foot dragged on the floor. "It's okay," Tyler said quietly. "You're doing great." Jake gave a weak laugh. "I used to love fast car videos," he said. "Watched all of them online, thought it was cool." He stopped to catch his breath. "Now I just wish that driver had been boring." The words cut deep. Tyler heard his own voice in his head shouting into a camera, bragging about speed and thrills. Now he was seeing what those thrills looked like afterward. Over the next days, he met more patients. A young mother with scars on her arms who was hit while pushing a stroller. An older man who used to be a runner but now moved with a walker. Every story sounded the same. Someone in a hurry, someone showing off, someone sure it would never happen to them. One afternoon, a teenage girl with a gentle face asked to speak to him. She held a small photo in her hand. "You're the guy from that court video, right?" she said. Tyler's stomach turned. "Yeah," he replied, "that's me." She handed him the picture. It showed her standing next to another girl, both smiling with their arms around each other. "This was my best friend Ava," she said. "We were walking home from school. A car came flying round the corner. The driver was speeding for fun." Her voice shook. "I woke up here. Ava never woke up at all." For a moment, Tyler couldn't breathe. He stared at the picture, at Ava's bright smile, and something inside him cracked open. The girl wiped her eyes. "I used to watch people like you," she said softly. "Street races, risky driving, I thought it was exciting. Now when I see someone laugh while they drive like that, I just see the day my life fell apart." Tyler felt tears rising, and this time he didn't fight them. They slipped down his face as he held the photo carefully like it might break. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I made it look fun. I never thought about this." "Most of them don't," she replied, "until they're the one in here or the one in a coffin." That night, Tyler finally watched his own videos the way the rest of the world saw them. He didn't hear excitement anymore. He heard carelessness. He watched pedestrians jump, heard car horns blare, saw his own laughter floating over fear. He hated the person on the screen. By the time his hours at the rehabilitation center were almost complete, something had changed. He didn't show up to impress the staff or to look good in front of a judge. He showed up because he couldn't forget the sound of Jake's shaky steps or the sight of Ava's face in that photograph. When he walked back into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom for his final hearing, he moved differently. No swagger, no smirk, he walked with quiet respect. He stood a little straighter, not out of pride, but out of responsibility. This time, when he looked at the judge, it wasn't to challenge him. It was to finally answer for the pain he now understood. And everyone in the courtroom could feel it. Tyler Blake had seen the human cost of his actions. And there was no going back to who he used to be. When Tyler stood before Judge Frank Caprio for what might be the last time, the courtroom felt the change before he said a word. He wasn't dressed to impress. No flashy brands, no jewelry, just a plain shirt and trousers. His hands shook slightly as he held a folded piece of paper, but when he spoke, he didn't read from it. He looked at the judge, then at the people who had seen him at his worst. "I owe a lot of people an apology," he began. "To this court, to the officer who stopped me, to the people I scared on the street. And especially to the mother whose child I almost hit." He turned toward the woman in the audience. She was the same mother who had stood up in fear and anger weeks earlier. "I made your little girl feel unsafe in her own city," he said softly. "I can't take that back, but I finally understand why you were so angry. You weren't overreacting, you were protecting your child, and I disrespected that." Her eyes filled and she gave the slightest nod. Tyler faced the judge again. "When I first came here, all I cared about was views," he admitted. "I thought if people were watching me, I was winning. I didn't care who I laughed at or what danger I created. The more people talked about me, the more important I felt." He took a breath. But working at that rehab center, listening to their stories, seeing kids my age learn to walk again because someone wanted a thrill, it broke something in me, in a good way. He managed a small, sad smile. "I used to say I was addicted to the grind. The truth is, I was addicted to attention. I'd do almost anything for it. Now I wish I could go back and tell that version of me to sit down and be quiet." "I don't expect everyone to forgive me," Tyler continued. "But I don't want to live as the guy who almost turned someone's child into a headline. I want to be the guy who warns others not to make the same mistake." His voice shook. "I am sorry. Not because of the fines, not because I lost followers, but because I finally see the real people behind the numbers I chased." Judge Caprio took a slow breath before speaking. "Tyler," he said, "you began this journey by laughing at the law and mocking this court. You used your platform to glorify dangerous behavior. Young people looked up to you and you led them toward risk, not safety." Tyler nodded, eyes lowered. "But," the judge continued, "you have now seen what your actions could have cost, not in theory. In real lives, real faces, real pain." He leaned forward slightly. "Influence is not a toy, it is a responsibility. When thousands, even millions, listen to you, you owe them care. They may copy what you do, they may trust what you say. You cannot take that lightly." "I understand that now," Tyler said. "For the first time, I really do." The judge looked at the file, then back at him. "Because you have shown genuine remorse," he said, "and because your work at the trauma center was sincere and helpful, I am going to reduce a portion of your fines." A soft murmur went through the courtroom. "However," the judge added, "your license suspension will stay in place until the full term is completed, and you will continue to volunteer at that center for additional hours, not as punishment, as education, as a reminder." Tyler nodded without argument. "I'll do it," he answered. "I want to." The judge gave a small, thoughtful smile. "Then maybe," he said, "this terrible mistake can become the start of a better life, not just for you but for the people who follow you. Subscribe if you believe respect matters." A few months later, a new video began circling the internet. This time, it wasn't reckless driving or a courtroom meltdown. It was Tyler, standing in front of a camera with no flashy editing, no loud music, just a steady, serious tone. He spoke about what he had done. He spoke about Jake, about Ava, about the faces he could not forget. He told his viewers, "If you ever feel like driving fast just for fun, I want you to remember them, not me. Don't be impressed by people who risk lives. be impressed by people who protect them. He visited the rehab center again, this time without a court order. Jake managed to take a few more steps and Tyler cheered for him. The teenage girl who lost her friend Ava gave him a small smile that said, without words, "You're not the same person anymore." Back in the quiet of his office, Judge Frank Caprio reflected on the case. He had seen anger, pride, and disrespect walk through his courtroom many times, but he had also seen something else: the power of a young person finally opening their eyes. His final thought about Tyler Blake could have been written across the screen for every viewer to take home: fame fades, character stays. And in that simple truth lay the real verdict of this story.